seconds.
Acts of kindness, and more. Thousands of Arizonans already joined Desert Financial, located inside the Payson Wall.
Well, good Thursday morning, or again, as we like to think of it, Friday Eve. 4 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. We're up at 75 degrees already. And this morning on KRIM's Community Spotlight, we're talking about the Town of Payson Water Department. And with us, the Director of the Water Department, Tanner Henry. Just to kind of set the stage here, the Town of Payson Water Department, in case you didn't know, is a public water utility that supplies drinking water to approximately 16,000 residents within a 19.5 square mile area. The water system includes 40 active production wells, over 8 million gallons of storage capacity, over 180 miles of distribution lines, booster pumping stations, a groundwater recharge project, and a state-of-the-art water treatment facility. Tanner, it's good to see you. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing good.
Good. They're keeping you hopping?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Now, there's when it comes to the water department here, there's a lot to talk about. But I think first to set the stage, people may not realize that the water treatment plant that treats water coming down off the CC Reservoir is truly a state-of-the-art facility. And we've got something going on water-wise here that a lot of other communities around Arizona look very covetously at.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was a long time coming. I mean, some will say, it's like 40 years in the making.
Right, yeah, 41 years that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay,
actually,
so 41 years.
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
behind the gun.
yeah, it's actually, it predates that.
Right.
We have a time banner in our office with all of the different actions that have happened. And I think things actually started somewhere around 1974, but the town of Payson bought the water system in 1980. So officially, the town of Payson has been pursuing our water portfolio for 41 years. And so, like you say, it's the town of Payson is in a really unique position in the Southwest United States in that right now Lake Mead is going dry, and all of Southern California, Nevada, and the Phoenix metro area in Arizona is all reliant on that water source, and they're all wondering where's their water going to come from.
Right.
And the town of Payson, thankfully, has groundwater for long-term storage and use, and then we have a surface water reservoir, Blue Ridge CC Reservoir.
Right.
And with that, combined with the recharge of Green Valley Water, we're in good shape. And
for a lot of the 40 years that I've been around here, it was there was water rationing. There, we went with those wonderful waterless urinals and all kinds of lovely stuff. But it was all done to try and live within our means. And things have been enhanced with the bringing in of the water from CC Craig or Blue Ridge Reservoir, but and that's only happened really in the last few years. Mm-hmm. However, when it comes to water rates, and that's one of the things we want to talk a little bit about today, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the big challenges has got to be the fact that a lot of the infrastructure has been in the ground here for a lot of years, and I imagine that's it has to take some routine maintenance or replacement work and stuff like that. And I know myself right now, I'm in the middle of a construction project down in Tonto Basin, and man, material prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even speak of that without inserting a few other adjectives. But so is this part of one of the challenges the water department is dealing with?
Absolutely, that's part of the challenges. So the CC Craig Blue Ridge project, bringing water to the town of Payson. Like I said, we have good water resources in Payson. We weren't sweating it this year, and there's other places that were. And so thankfully we have the water resource, but it cost us $52 million to get here. And so $52 million for a small community like us, that's a lot. That's a big challenge.
Sure.
Thankfully we did get a few grants here and there to help us out, so moving through the last 40 years, our focus was on getting the next bucket of water. And so we kind of put the maintenance of the system kind of on a back burner. We did do some work, and as development grew in Payson and everything, that was all new infrastructure that built. But we really didn't do a whole lot of replacement of that old stuff.
And during a lot of that same time frame, we had kind of a downturn in the economy as well, which had to be an exacerbating factor.
Right. So where we sit today, and I presented this to council, was we've got CC KRIM project done. Now it's time to start focusing on rehabilitating some of those old neighborhoods. And for a case in point, to bring it to the forefront, when they built the new Circle K South down here,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big, beautiful, nice place, right?
Sure, right.
Lots of drinks, lots of everything. Well, when that facility is operating, the pressure in that neighborhood for all the other customers goes down about 20 pounds of pressure, 20 psi.
Wow.
And so that whole neighborhood started saying, hey, what's the deal? What's going on here? Well, that neighborhood is fed by a 2-inch pipe that's about 75 years old.
Whoa.
And today, when we build a new water main, we don't build anything smaller than an 8-inch in diameter.
Well, that's a big difference.
And so that is one of the projects that we've ear tagged and said we need to start working in that neighborhood, because the neighborhood doesn't have fire hydrants, doesn't have fire protection, and so we need to rehabilitate that neighborhood.
And a 4 times larger diameter water
Correct.
line, I mean, that should address a lot of that.
Yes,
But
yes.
they're not giving those kind of water lines away, probably.
No, it's expensive. Yeah, it's,
Right? And so, what does this mean as far as, when it comes to water rates? I think depending on where you're at in Arizona, rates can fluctuate significantly. But I know I've heard some people complain that, well, gosh, where I came from, which was a community of a few million,
Right.
our monthly water rate was only X dollars, where here it's more than that. Well,
Right.
I would assume, and again, correct me if I go astray here, but if we're talking a huge community, that cost gets absorbed by a lot of other people, where in a
Right.
smaller community like this, not quite so much so.
That's absolutely a fact. And the other thing that works against us, in the town of Payson, we have this beautiful atmosphere, beautiful geography, right?
Sure.
Lots of ups and downs,
Right?
lots of mountains. Beautiful to look at, but expensive to deliver water to.
Well, and down in Phoenix, everything's flat.
Right.
And so
Right.
you're having to pump stuff up and down, and that's got to add quite a bit of expense just to the infrastructure.
Correct. Yeah. Our electrical costs, we're in the ballpark of about $400,000 a year just in electricity,
Wow.
just to run the water department. And
I'm glad that's your power bill, not
Right.
macro.
it's 350, 400. We've done some really good things. We have a hydroelectric generator at our treatment plant, which helps reduce our costs of running the treatment plant.
And for people that aren't familiar, this is with the water coming down off Blue Ridge. There's a natural gravity flow there that feeds that generator, right?
Right. So
And so, how much of your overall power consumption is taken care of with that?
well, at the treatment plant right now, when we're running full tilt, that's a 4.3 million gallon a day water treatment facility.
Wow.
We're able to run about 60% off of our hydroelectric generator. So we have to buy 40% of her.
But you're not getting water from Blue Ridge all year round.
No, correct. Yeah, actually today is the day we're shutting down for the season. This year was a dry year. CC KRIM started out at, I think, 27% full. And we've drafted it down to the minimum pool. So we only ran for 6 weeks this year. So we're going to go back to our groundwater wells to sustain us for the rest of the year. But during that 6-week period, we did inject about 1,000 gallons a minute into the ground for long-term storage. So now we're going to start using that.
And that's a really, amazing thing too, in that with the split granite aquifers here, I mean, you've got pockets underground where you can just store water,
Right.
and it doesn't go away. Is this is it the same kind of conditions all over Arizona, or is it?
No.
I mean, that's a loaded question. I know the answer, but I mean, we're kind of unique that way too, as far as being able to store water there.
Absolutely. Well, so underground storage is not unique to the Phoenix metro area, where it's basically a big bathtub full of sand.
Right.
You put water in there and it just stays there.
Right.
But there's really nobody worldwide who's putting the water into a fractured granite intermountain region like we are.
Right.
And so we're really, really unique in that. There's quite a few other communities that are looking at what we're doing, because it is really unique. And so for us to try to calculate how much water we can put in the ground, you can't do it.
Right.
Because there's no model that tells you that. So we've got to do it to learn what we can do.
And Green Valley Lake is kind of an integral part of that whole thing too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, yeah, Green Valley Lake, that's reclaimed wastewater that percolates into the ground, grabs those cracks and fissures, and then we pick it up in our well system.
I think, and that right there, I remember back when that was first talked about, people were, I don't know, we don't need to do that, we never did, ain't never done that before.
Right.
But what a major, achievement for the town of Payson that has become.
Right.
Not to mention the fact a lot of people like to go out to the park and hang out.
It's nice to go fishing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, I mean, obviously, you're talking about the one neighborhood down by Circle K South that has to have some major infrastructure swapped out. I imagine that's not the only neighborhood that kind of condition exists in.
Right. So back in 2011, a water master plan was written for the town of Payson that evaluated all the older, smaller diameter pipes and everything, and a map was created that showed these are the neighborhoods and areas that need to start being replaced. And in that 2011 master plan, it said finish the C.C. Cragen project, get your backup power and those kinds of things for power emergencies. We've done all that. We've done the Cragen project. And task number 3 was start replacing some of these old mains. That's where we're at. And so one thing that's unique about Payson and in regards to rates is in those great big communities like you talked about, they have a property tax levy that goes to help fund these kinds of projects, right? So people that come from those communities, they say, oh, well, I only paid $20 a month in my electric or my water bill.
They're not looking at the property tax.
Yeah, I didn't realize that all that capital that had to be replaced was funded out of that. The town of Payson is unique in that. We do not charge property taxes to subsidize the water department. So all of our everything comes out of our user rates. So when you're comparing two communities and their water rates, it's really not an apples to apples comparison.
Right.
When you're doing
More like apples and raisins.
right. So
Okay.
So that's one of the things that people need to keep in mind is our funding mechanisms a little different.
So are with the plans of upgrading some of these, and you actually blew the last few remaining brain cells when you said that some of that water line that you're looking at replacing is 75 years old.
Correct.
I mean, that
yes.
puts it in a pretty amazing, is that old iron pipe or something? Or?
Some of it's galvanized iron pipe that one of the things about galvanized iron is when you have hard water, which we do,
Right.
calcium likes to bond to that and it forms these things called tubercles, like the Carlsbad Caverns and everything,
Right,
the stalactites. Same kind of deal. That happens in these pipes and it starts choking it off from the inside. It's
So
clogged arteries.
you may have had so many gallons per minute flow way back when, but that's been
Right.
greatly reduced.
But when it's 75 years old, just like a human being, the circulation system doesn't work so good.
Well, so before the town has a heart attack, you're getting after this.
That's the idea.
And now is this going to cause a notable increase in water rates over, say, the next 5 to 10 years, in your opinion?
Yeah, the rate structure that was approved by council, we hired a consultant to look at our rates and help us try to forecast, what's going to happen with the cost of materials. And the bottom line is, over the long term, the cost of a water provider like us to provide water goes up about 5% every year, no matter what. That's the long-term trend. So it would be, we don't make any money. We're a nonprofit. So any money we take in the door gets reused in the system. And so it would
So no one's making millions of dollars a year. Okay.
So it would stand to reason that if our cost goes up 5% a year, probably the rate's got to go up 5% a year, otherwise we'll go bankrupt, right?
Makes sense.
So the town council approved a rate structure that goes up by 6% to catch up with some of the increases, because we're intending to spend about 1.2 to 1.3 million in capital improvements over the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
And so it's 6% for 4 years and then 4% that fifth year.
Wow.
So it
Interesting.
tracks.
That's a lot to keep track of. People may not realize too that the Town of Payson Water Department, correct me if my numbers need to be updated, but we have a staff of 19 full-time employees that provide a variety of services for the convenience and necessity of all the customers here in Payson, from the daily necessities of operation of the water system, such as regular system maintenance, repairs, and improvements, to backflow prevention, conservation, water quality, and long-term water resource planning and management. I mean, there's a lot of people may not realize that there's a whole bunch going on underground here just when it comes to the water department.
There's a whole lot going on. We do bi-weekly measurements every other week of over 46 wells in the community. We have a pulse on what's going on underground all the time. And then we have water quality sampling that has to happen every month. to make sure that everybody's drinking is safe.
Right.
And then we also manage the Green Valley Lakes and make sure that the water quality and the algae blooms and all that stuff is okay, and that it's acceptable to fish habitat. And so, yeah, every day of the week.
But hey, other than that, not much going on.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I love it. As far as the construction aspect of these improvements that need to be made, when will people in Payson start seeing dirt being turned?
So we're in design right now on two projects. One of them is actually just north of the hospital. What we found, you remember we had some water main leaks in Main Street.
Right.
Well, the hospital's a critical facility. They need
Sure.
to have water. We found that when we had some water main breaks there, we had some challenges keeping water at the hospital at that time.
Oh, wow.
They had water, but not as good as we would like.
Kind of an important thing
Right.
about the hospital.
So we have a project that's just finishing design. Probably in about a month, we'll go out to bid for contractors this fall, and
Right.
then hopefully start construction. October or so.
Right.
And so that'd be the first project. The one down on Circle K, we're just starting design in that, and that may be about a year out from now.
What's one of the biggest misconceptions that you hear from the public regarding the water department? If there is such a thing, and I'm
Well-
sure there is.
Well, the one that I kind of find a little bit amusing is people say, well, water falls from the sky. God provides it for free. Why are you charging me so much money?
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's true, but he doesn't put it in the tap for you.
Right.
So that's
So
what
you
we're
just tell them to
starting
put a bucket on their roof and let
Right,
you know how that's working out for them.
Yeah. So,
Well, and with the just the treatment of the water coming down off C.C. Cregan, a lot of people may not realize that you can't just stick raw water into the water infrastructure here.
Right.
That water has to be treated not only to make it safe for human consumption and all of that, but also to preserve the infrastructure of the water system itself.
yes. So I was talking about those tubercles that
Right.
grow in the pipes. So that's years and years of calcium bonding with the iron in there. And Tucson made a big mistake 20 some years, maybe 30 years ago now, where they took surface water from CAP Canal, which was soft,
Right.
released it into their water distribution system, and it dissolved all of those parts and pieces. They broke off in chunks and wound up in everybody's fixtures throughout the system.
And everyone said, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah. Caused so much damage that they shut down their multi-million-dollar treatment facility, and they still haven't turned it back on again.
Oh, wow.
So absolute total waste. So in our case, we tried to be a little bit smarter if possible and
Yeah.
learn from their
I'd
experiences.
like to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we take that soft water from Cregan, we treat it and purify it and get it to beautiful drinking water condition, and then we actually inject hardness back into it. We inject lime back in there to harden the water up, so then that way when we release it downstream, it blends nicely with our groundwater. So we take ultra pure water and dirty it up a little bit. But then that way, so far it's proven to be successful.
Right.
Um,
That's you got a lot of different moving parts to this whole equation of just when people turn on the tap and expect water coming out. I think a lot of people may not realize just how much goes into that, and again, as we mentioned earlier, how much planning over the course of 4 decades plus have gone into ensuring that that water keeps coming out of your tap.
mhm.
So now, as far as infrastructure, is it mainly infrastructure improvements? That is it mainly just the older parts of Payson that are the focal point of that?
Mostly, yes. They just coincide with each other. Older subdivisions have older pipes that are smaller in diameter.
I'm older. I have
Right,
older
right.
pipes too,
Yep. So
with all kinds of blockages. Well, that's interesting. So now as far as if you could wave a magic wand and bring everything up to standards, well, that's not the right way to ask it. How long do you think it'll take to make all these improvements?
well, the truth of it is the way we have it budgeted now is if we spend $1.2 million every year, growing by that 5% every year, we would just be able to maintain the system as it is in its current condition because we're managing depreciation.
Right. And so even after you take care of the older parts of town, then some of the
Start
newer
on the
parts,
next
it's going to be
one.
their turn.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And now, as far as I got to, because we're almost out of time here, but I want to just hit on the treatment plan out there because I find that to be a fascinating facility. Buzz Walker gave me a tour of that just before it went operational, and I mean that in and of itself is really a pretty amazing piece of science that you wouldn't expect to find in a little town like Payson.
It's really truly remarkable. Scottsdale and Fountain Hills have systems that are kind of similar, but none of them treat cold water, high alpine water like we do. And there's challenges associated with that that's different. And it really is, it's a remarkable facility.
Do people come from, this is another loaded question, I think I know the answer, but people come from not only around the state, but around the country and even from other countries to see what you got going on
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
So obviously, I mean, you got some people's attention with this.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When we started up our hydro generator, we had people from APS show up and say, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Now, when you also had mentioned that when it comes to taking water from CC Craig, and you can only do it, drain that reservoir down to certain levels. And this, the last 2 years have been pretty dry years, so you didn't get a whole lot this year. In a I don't even know what a normal year is, but in a normal year, whatever that is, I mean, how many weeks or months would you typically be planning to be pumping water out of CC Craig?
Typically a 9-month operating season.
Wow, so quite a bit different right now because of the drought.
Yes, right. So we've seen the reservoir fill from 10% all the way to full in one good winter storm.
Wow.
So fingers crossed, we're hoping maybe this winter that'll happen.
And snowmelt, more so than monsoon rains,
Yes.
is what fills that.
Typically, yes. Although a really good hard monsoon will do wonders to it.
And of course, I know it's almost another topic for another time, but the protection of the forest around that, as far as the threat of wildfire, if there was a significant burn in there, that could really mess things up for this whole thing. So obviously, that's got to be a big focal point as well.
We're spending a lot of time and resources working with the SRP, and the mayor has a group of people that are working collaboratively to try to do some landscape management up there. So yeah, we're actively pursuing it.
Okay, so if people, because we're out of time, but if people have more questions about the Town of Payson Water Department, or maybe they'd like to just make a big financial contribution, I don't know, I'm not sure help rose over yet today, but if people do have questions, all kidding aside, what's the best angle for them to go at that?
Well, they can just call our office. If you call 474-5242, it gets you into the switchboard to take you right directly to the water department. You can ask whatever question you want to have, and we will direct you to whoever can answer the question, whether it be myself or water quality people or whatever.
Right.
But our doors are open. We're here to serve the people. So just gotta ask.
Just call the main Town of Payson number, 474-5242, and what's the extension for water? Do you remember?
I think it's extension 2.
But they give you a listing when you
Yeah,
call, so just
yeah.
474-5242 and check it out. Hey, Tanner Henry, thanks for everything that you do, and
thanks.
congratulations. I mean, the Town of Payson Water Department, really something to be proud of, and if we got to pay a few extra bucks to keep everything up and rolling, I mean, we got people coming from around the world to see what you have going on here, so something for the community to be proud of.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in and listening this morning to Community Spotlight on KRIM. Gonna get you back to more of your favorite music. Have some tunes coming up from the Climax Blues Band, Delbert McClinton, Sugar Ray, and a whole bunch more. But first, a quick look at Rim Country weather.
This morning's
Thank you. Thanks
like
for
that.
covering me.
Hey, we'll make it work.